Okay, everybody. I want to take a second to welcome everybody to the regular meeting of the East Turlock Subbasin Groundwater Sustainability Agency and the West Turlock Subbasin GSA Groundwater Sustainability Agency Technical Advisory Committees for both of those organizations. I just want to make a note here and note that apart from all the normal things you see here on the screen about the meeting being recorded and materials available online and all of that, that I will note as I share with our agenda here. Just a special note that you'll see if you're looking at the participant list and some of the cameras that that the West Turlock Subbasin GSA is participating by way of remote teleconference, and the East Turlock Subbasin GSA Tech is participating from a physical meeting location there at Cortez Hall, which you can see. So just want to mention that. That's how we noticed the meeting. The hybrid approach is available for this specific meeting, and I believe there's an item in the agenda where we'll talk a little bit more about that moving forward as well. So with that being said, I'll hand the meeting over to Michael and the representation from the East Turlock Subbasin GSA Tech.
Thank you, Herb. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Michael Cook. I'm the committee chair for the West Turlock Subbasin Technical Advisory Committee. This is our joint meeting with the East Turlock Subbasin Technical Advisory Committee. I see Sarah there in Cortez Hall, so welcome, Sarah. We run this together and jump back and forth, as you know. My challenge right now is I don't see we have a quorum for the West Turlock GSA. I see we have Karen from Ceres, Leandro from Delhi, Miguel from Modesto, Jaime from Houston, and a number of us from Turlock Irrigation District. So that makes 5, and we need 7 for a quorum. So I won't, we'll go through our meeting, but when we get to some of the action items, we may have to skip those and see if we do get a quorum or not. Otherwise, we'll take no action today. Sarah, over to you. How's your situation?
We're in good shape. We should meet in person because everybody shows up. We've got we have Christy from Stanislaus, so I think that'll help your numbers also, Michael. Okay. We have Dennis Yatsuo, we have Matt from MID, and we have Adriel from Merced and myself. So we have a full TAC committee.
Yeah, so thank you, Sarah. So hearing that, so adding Adriel from Merced and Christy from Stanislaus County, that means we have 7. So we have a quorum on the West Turlock Technical Advisory Committee. So at 2:03 p.m., we are called to order, and similarly, the East Turlock is called to order too. Our first item on the agenda is public participation. This is time set aside for members of the public to address the Joint Technical Advisory Committee on any item related to our area of expertise. You can speak now or wait till a specific item is on the agenda. So with that, do we have any public participation? Okay, hearing none and seeing none. Anybody over there in Cortez Hall, Sarah, for public participation?
No, we have nothing here.
All right, so that takes us to our first action item today, which is number 4, approval of the minutes. This is the minutes of the March 24th regular joint meeting of the West and East Turlock Subbasin GSA Technical Advisory Committee. So these minutes were sent out earlier this week. Members have had time to review them. So a motion to approve or approve as amended.
I will motion, Michael.
Thank you, Leandro. So Leandro from Delhi motions for approval. This is the West Turlock GSA. Do you have a second?
Second, Michael.
Thank you, Miguel. So Modesto seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, so the West Turlock approves those minutes. Over to you, Sarah.
Thank you. So we'll need the same for East Turlock for the same minutes from March 24th. Can I get a first from somebody for East Turlock? Dennis, thank you. And a second? Second. Christy, thank you. Do we need to do a roll call since we're in person? Okay. So all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries.
Okay, wonderful. So East Turlock adopts those minutes from the 24th as well. Moving on to item number 5. This is a resolution of the West Turlock Technical Advisory Committee only, recognizing the state of emergency proclaimed by the governor on March 4th and reauthorizing teleconference meetings. So I'm going to hand this over to our legal counsel, Valerie Kincaid, for discussion of this item. So over to you, Valerie.
Thanks, Michael. So as a lot of folks know, public agencies have been operating under what was passed originally as AB 361 and is now incorporated in the Brown Act section of the Government Code. But it basically allows some procedures to loosen the requirements on teleconferencing and allowing remote participation in meetings. 2 things need to be in place in order to continue to operate under this AB 361 resolutions. First is that there has to be a state of emergency in place. And then second, one of 2 things can happen. One, state or local officials have either imposed or recommended social distancing measures, or the agency determines by a majority vote that a meeting in person would cause imminent risks to the health and safety of the attendees. So historically, what we've been doing is not doing that second prong, because that's a tough thing for a water agency to determine. So the state of the emergency still is in place. That emergency proclamation was in place on March 4th, 2020. And although it was revised February 25th, 2022 by the governor, taking out a lot of the components of the emergency, state of emergency, it still is in place. And so that first prong is met. It's actually the second prong that becomes a little bit more challenging to meet today, because the state and locals don't have obvious recommended social distancing measures in place. Most folks have rescinded those. The CDC does still promote social distancing and has recommended social distancing procedures. So to the extent that either locals or state folks reference the federal CDC recommendations, we could probably squeak by under those recommendations. So, basically, we can probably still pass the 30-day resolutions, but our options really of meeting that second prong of having social distancing recommendations in place are beginning to narrow, and we're kind of having a little bit of a larger reach to get that prong met. I think we can still do it if folks still want to readopt the resolution and continue to have remote participation. Now, remember when we discussed this, it's just the remote participation of the board or the TAC members in this case that we're talking about. You can always meet in person and have a quorum requirement in person, but have the option for public or other folks who don't make up that quorum to participate remotely. So that it doesn't affect having remote participation. It only affects it as to the quorum of the board. And of course, if we can't make these findings, then we go back to the old Brown Act rules, where if someone is calling in from a teleconferencing location, that must be not only noticed on the agenda, but opened to the public. So if everyone's at home conferencing in and you want to be part of the quorum and someone knocks on your door and wants to participate with you, by those old rules, technically you have to let them in and join in. So I'll take any questions that folks have. I think it's kind of up to the group. I think we can still squeak by with recommendations and pass another 30-day resolution. But it is getting tougher, and fewer recommended social distancing measures are in place that we can reference.
Thank you, Valerie. Questions for Valerie? It's a thorough explanation, Valerie, no questions. So it looks like Valerie has given us some options. We can continue to act under this existing resolution, renew it for another 30 days and reference the CEC guidelines about social distancing, or alternatively, we can go back to the regular Brown Act rules, including that existing provision that allows people to participate remotely. But if they're part of the quorum, they have to notify us on the agenda, their location, and make their location accessible to the public. So with that, what's the pleasure of the group? Any particular preferences one way or the other? I see everybody's remote, so maybe that's part of the problem.
Are you asking us if we prefer to work remotely?
Hey, you have to say that again, Karen. We missed the first part.
I was wondering if your question was if we want to continue to have these meetings remotely.
Correct.
I know for my schedule, it works very well. I could do a lot more work without driving. Even though I'm currently driving right now and doing a meeting.
Okay, and we got a comment in the chat box from Leadership Council recommending remote participation. I think we'd always do that anyway, offer remote participation, just because we're allowed to do that, and it's working well. For example, with the Turlock Irrigation District Board, to allow the public to participate remotely. The issue becomes members of the board participating remotely for a quorum. So it sounds like, Karen, you want to make a motion that we adopt our resolution again for at least another 30 days, reference the CEC guidelines, and at least for the board members and everybody else, we can continue to participate remotely and still have a quorum. Was that what I heard you say?
That is exactly what I said. Thank you.
I thought so. Do we have a second?
I will second, Michael.
Thank you, Leandro. So we have a motion and second. Any further discussion? So we'll pass this resolution, allow us to operate under the emergency regulation for another 30 days at least, with remote participation for TAC members.
Michael Cook, you do probably have to take, sorry, it's a resolution, so you have to roll call probably.
Okie dokie. So
sorry.
That's okay. It's same work for me. It's more work for Jennifer.
I'm ready whenever you are.
Okay, so a motion from Karen, a second from Leandro. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Thank you. Member Alvarez?
Yes.
Member Maldonado?
Yes.
Member Montalbano? Yes. Member McKinnon?
Yes.
Member Ramirez?
Yes.
Member Velasquez?
Yes.
Vice Chair Morgan?
Yes.
And Chair Cook?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
That resolution stands approved unanimously. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate the patience with the East Turlock folks. Okay, that brings us on to the main event for today, the budget update. So this is to review and discuss the forecasted costs and budget for the Turlock Subbasin for the next fiscal year, July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023. And that'll be Michael Clipper, the treasurer. Over to you, Michael.
Hello, everyone. So I have a budget illustration for the West Turlock Subbasin. Our membership dues, our GSP implementation costs, and then the general administration costs, and then also the GSP. Well, one is the revenue, and then the exact same amount is the expenses, and then our other miscellaneous costs. So this is going off of the illustration from that I provided to everyone. That illustration has the two the membership dues and the GSP implementation. Any questions?
All right, questions from Michael. Sounds not, Michael, very thorough again. Thank you very much. And then moving on to B, second part of your presentation. This is along with Sarah. This is the overview and expenditures for both GSAs. Oh, sorry, the budget is my bad. An action item for the West Turlock GSA. Can we take this to our board at the May 13th meeting?
Yes.
So I apologize, Michael. Do you have any further discussion on the budget? This was sent out a few weeks ago. We had a West Turlock TAC meeting to look through the stuff. So it shouldn't be new to anybody. I know you're working on your budgets for your agencies right now. So with that, motion to approve the budget for next year.
Oh, motion, Michael.
Thank you, Leandro. We have a motion from Leandro. Do we have a second?
Second, Miguel Modesto.
Miguel Modesto. And this is a motion, so it's not a resolution, so we can do it by voice vote. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the recommended budget stands approved to take to our board in the middle of May. Thank you, Michael. Now moving on to the item B, 6B, overview of revenues and expenditures for the West Turlock and East Turlock Subbasin GSA. So Michael and Sarah.
Okay, I'll start, I guess. The West Turlock in our account for ending March 31st, 2022, we had $186,173.32. There was no activity in the month of March. It was kind of a quiet month. For the basin account, we started the month of March with $515,159.56. We spent $116,493.39. We received $154,871.67, leaving us with an ending balance of $553,538.84. Any questions?
Do we have questions for Michael? When's the next cash call, Michael?
It would be probably mid-July.
Okay.
That'll be the various numbers that we talked about for the West Turlock agencies. And then I'll have invoices due for the East Turlock folks as well at that time.
Okay.
And I think we're going to discuss, I'll probably discuss offline a little bit of how, as we're switching the budget, well, I'll say the collection process will probably make it simpler and easier for everyone on the east, mainly on the east side, as we do project by project.
Okay, that sounds good. Again, anybody, if you need to prepay or split some costs across two budget years, just talk to Michael so we can figure how to best help you out with your payments. Okay, sounds good. Sarah, what do we have for the East Turlock GSA on your budget update?
Thank you. I just want to touch on the theme that you just passed your budget for next year. I just want to touch on the fact that the East Turlock met, the TAC met last week and recommended to the board their budget for next year. And so we'll be passing that at our main meeting after recommending it to the board. As far as accounts to date, our balance sheet as of March 31st was $93,183.77. Earlier today at the GSA board meeting, we approved the payment of $26,946.48 of bills, leaving us with a balance for April of $66,237.29. So that is the status of the East Side budget.
Wonderful. Anybody have questions for Sarah on the budget update? Okay, hearing and seeing none. Over to item number 7, Sigma related updates. This is where TAC members discuss and provide updates on issues related to the implementation of the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act. These are our normal 3 or 4 bullet points here. Let's start with communication and outreach. Herb Smart.
Thanks, Michael. I have a quick update. A couple of things. One, and a lot of these may even bleed over into the next 2 bullet points, so I'll just be careful not to give too much information and to leave room if I'm needed on those in the upcoming items. But the first thing is the airborne electromagnetic surveys that DWR conducted in March were completed recently in April. And in terms of the communication outreach side, we did a little bit of early communication into that and sent out information over our social media following. And also we sent them to through the bulk email that we use through MailChimp to alert those, at least those some 390 some odd stakeholders that we have as part of our list, to let them know that that was going on. I personally didn't hear anything about anybody in the regions where the helicopters flew over being nervous, in my capacity with the TAC or in my capacity at Turlock Irrigation District. So I take that as a good sign that nobody was too worried about that. And I give credit to DWR too for all of their efforts that they spent on that. Second item would be that we received the DWR had a public comment period for the groundwater sustainability plan after they posted it on their portal, and you'll probably hear more from Debbie on this as well. But we received, obviously receiving comments is a huge part of public outreach. We received, I think there's 4 unique, although there's 5 uploaded to the GSP portal, comments on the GSP. 4 comments, and I will note that they are from comment letters. They are one is from the Leadership Council for Justice and Accountability, who's been following items in the Subbasin for some time. The National Marine Fisheries Service submitted a letter. The Central Valley Flood Protection Board submitted a letter, as well as a non-governmental organization coalition of five agencies: Audubon Society of America, Civic Well, formerly the Local Government Commission, Clean Water Action, the Union of Concerned Scientists, and the Nature Conservancy all submitted a coalition letter. So in total, if my counting is correct, 4 comments to the Department of Water Resources on our GSP that we submitted in January. And I'll clarify that those comments are in addition to comments that the GSAs received on the GSP as well. And you'll probably hear more about that in the future. And so I haven't personally had, those were all submitted about a week ago. I haven't had the time to digest everything in there, but I know our consultants and the technical team are going to be going through those and taking a look at those as well. And that is my brief update, other than continuing to send out emails through our service that we use about meetings like this and other informational things going on. Like I know we sent something out about California's Groundwater Live, which is DWR's new portal that's available. We sent that out today and in past couple weeks as well. So as those things come up, I'll send those out to stakeholders. But other than that, we're just getting ready to prepare for the months ahead and starting to develop a little bit of how do we communicate now in this new era where the GSP has been submitted and we're waiting for DWR determination. So that's my brief update.
Thank you, Herb. Any questions for Herb? Debbie, what do you have for us?
Michael, I'm actually going to take this one.
Okay, Karen.
So, no problem. TID reached out to the West Turlock TAC seeking a letter of support for a Water Smart grant through the Bureau of Reclamation for their Lateral 6 water control structure project. They needed this letter of support in a very short notice. They needed it by 4/27. So I went ahead and drafted the letter of support on behalf of the TAC, and it was too late for the agenda, but I will be bringing this back to the group at our next meeting to ask for authorization to sign this letter retroactively. So I just wanted to let you all know that this letter's gone out, and hopefully TID will get their grant.
Thank you, Karen. That's appreciated. Again, what we do in this situation where time is short, kind of let everybody know through email what's going on, see if there's a major objection, and then take it to the technical advisory committee for kind of post hoc acceptance. So again, thank you, Karen, for working hard to get that done in a timely manner. And hopefully, again, as you say, bringing more funding into the area for conservation projects or recharge projects or whatever else is always a good thing. So that's good.
Welcome.
Thank you. Okay, now Debbie, anything from you?
Yes, thank you. Herb shared the news about the comments that we received. So they're being reviewed now. As I understand it from speaking with our consultant team, there are no specific requirements for responding to those comments because they were submitted to DWR. And they will be considered by DWR as they review the GSP. But there is one thing that I did want to point out to the agencies engaged with this process, and it's the comments related to the Central Valley Flood Protection Board, and they noted that that the agencies, as they're looking at their projects, may wish to consider if there are any permits or other things needed by the Central Valley Flood Protection Board. They mentioned that there may be some projects incorporated within the GSP that, and each of those projects are being done by individual agencies, not by the GSAs. So that would be up to the individual projects agencies to reach out to the Flood Protection Board and review that process. And so I did want to mention that as we were considering these things. Also, I've been working with Todd Groundwater and the Department of Water Resources to make sure that the information within the GSP on the monitoring network is consistent with the information that got uploaded into the monitoring portal. I guess as they went through the process for the critically overdrafted basins, there were some glitches in how the portal was taking some information. And so they're giving each of the subbasins an opportunity to review the information. So they pulled the information out into a spreadsheet form, which made it a lot easier to cross-check the information. And so I've been working with DWR on that and submitted the updated spreadsheet where I think we added and clarified a few things to make sure it was consistent. And we sent that back to DWR today. And so the next step in the process will be providing and uploading information from the March monitoring event that the GSAs completed. And so that will be done this coming month. So I wanted to update the TAC on that. And then this coming month, we're also going to be getting a copy of an administrative draft of the PEIR that is being developed by ESA. The ad hoc committee is continuing to work with ESA in drafting that. And then it'll be available for the tax to review prior to it being released as a public review draft for public comment. So just wanted to update everyone on that. And then lastly, this is an administrative thing for the grants. Part of the grant requirement is that we complete a project report of what was done. And so since we've completed the GSP, I'm working with Todd Groundwater in completing that project report for the first grant and preparing it in a manner that we can then add the information for the second grant prior to submittal. The second grant is completed when the PEIR is drafted and done, and that won't be until later this year. But the whole project, along with the reports to DWR for the project completion, will be due along with invoicing and all of that by October. So we're preparing for that as we move forward. So that's my report today. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Debbie. That was great. Any questions for Debbie? Sarah, any updates from the East Turlock GSA?
I don't have any updates to offer anyone on the committee. Remember anything I'm forgetting? No, I think we're good here. Just as I said, we just had our GSA board meeting today, so we covered a lot, but nothing really impacted. Working on the project actions.
All right, that sounds good. Maybe next time I'll join you guys out there in Cortez, because there's some great pictures, historical pictures, it looks like on the wall, and I love that kind of stuff. Okay, that brings us to hearing any other items from anybody? Sorry, my apologies. Any other updates from anybody we get to chat about? Okay, hearing nothing, that brings us to item 8, our next meeting, our next regular meeting is scheduled for Thursday, May 26th, 2022. And then with that, I'd ask members of the West Turlock GSA first to make a motion for adjournment.
Motion, Michael.
Motion by Leandro, second by Miguel. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, we're adjourned at 2:31 p.m. Sarah, over to you.
I get a motion from the East Turlock. Matt, thank you. Second. Christy, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and we are adjourned at 12:31.
Okay, thanks everybody.